So here we're looking at tolerance. So what does tolerance tell us? Well, it just tells us the upper and lower limits that are acceptable. And so normally when you ask a group of kids where they've had tolerance before, normally we talk about things like behaviour. That's normally the popular answer that comes up. But again, we're just looking at what is acceptable. So in that situation, what type of behaviour is acceptable? Here we're going to just apply it to numbers. Okay, so when we're not quite so fussy, we'd like a value, but we can give it a little bit of leeway. We can take a little bit more or a little bit less. So how do we know that we're dealing with tolerance? What does it look like? Well, the tolerance will give us the ideal value. It'll give us the value that we actually want. And then it'll give us the number that we can be above or below it. So, for example, we could take 60 plus or minus 6. Okay, so this is the form that our tolerance is going to take. It's going to give us our first number, the ideal number that we want. We're going to get this plus and minus symbol, and then the tolerance. Okay, so 60 is what we want, but we'll happily take 6 above it or 6 below it. So when we see that, all we are going to do is we are going to split it up, and we're going to do 60 plus 6, which is 66, and we're going to do 60 minus 6, which is 54. And so all I've done is I've taken my plus and minus symbol and I've just split it, and I've done both of those things. And what that's done is that's given me my upper limit and my lower limit. And so we want 60. 60 is the number that ideally we're aiming for, but we'll take anything between 54 and 66. Okay. So for example, another one, we might want to do 10 centimeters plus or minus 1 millimeter. So something we need to watch out for is we need to make sure that our units are the same. And so here, I want 10 centimeters, but my tolerance is 1 millimeter above or below. And so here, I can't just add it on. I need to make sure that I've changed it to be the same units. So the first thing that's going to happen is that's going to become 10 centimeters plus or minus 0.1 centimeters. So remembering the 1 millimeter is a tenth of a centimeter. Okay, but once I've got that, now I can do exactly the same thing as I did before. I can do 10 plus 0.1, I can do 10 minus 0.1. And so I get 10.1 centimeters and 9.99 centimeters. Okay, how else might it appear? Well, we might have something like this one, where we've got 40 millimeters plus or minus 5%. Okay, and so this time we're not giving you a value for your tolerance, we're giving you a percentage. So the first thing you've got to do is you've got to work out, well, what actually is 5% of 40? So 10% of 40 is 4, 5% is 2. Okay, so what we're actually doing this time is we're going to find 40 plus or minus 2. So we've got 40 plus 2 is 42, and 40 minus 2 is 38. Okay, again, including our units there at the side, they may give you them, depending on the context of the question. Okay, but things we want to watch out for is we need to watch out for these things, like the first example, where we're either dealing with decimals as part of our tolerance, or when there are different units. Okay, we might need to change it into that. And also, we need to deal with percentages. Okay, so they are the two things that we might add in just to make these questions a little bit more challenging this time. Okay, and one final example. What else might we be asked to do? Well, if we give you a tolerance, you might be asked to find the values that lie within a range. So given the tolerance of 23 plus or minus 0.6, which of my following values, and I've got a big list of numbers underneath here, lie within the limits. So first thing I've got to do is I've got to actually work out what my tolerance is. So I've got to do 23 plus 0.6, which is 23.6, and I've got to do 23 minus 0.6, which is 22.4. And now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to work my way down the list and see, do each of the numbers lie within that range. So does 23? Yes, it does. So we can keep 23. Does 22.6 come between those numbers? Yes, it does. What about 22.2? Well, 22.2 is less than 22.4, so we don't want that one. That one doesn't lie there. 23.6 is the absolute uppermost value of our limits, and so when we found these limits, we will take those numbers. So it's inclusive of them, but nothing more than that. So 23.6 can stay. If 23.6 is the absolute most, then 23.8 is too much, and 25 is too much, 23.06. Okay, again, that's 23 with just a tiny little bit on, so that one's good to stay. 23.2, that one can stay. Looking at the next one, I've got 22.9. Well, that's just a little bit less than 23, but it's not as low as 22.4, so that one's good to stay. And 23.7 is just more than 23.6, and so we don't keep that one.